the bailee driver pays an upfront set amount to the operator and retains the profits. And those arrangements are not regulated by the government, and the driver wages are on the low side, probably $8 to $13 an hour. Our dollar's about the same as US, about $8 to $13 per hour, and that's below our national minimum wage. The nature of drivers, there are a number of drivers who've been in the industry a long time, but the number of short-term, part-time taxi drivers has grown very significantly over recent years, with many of them being overseas students. And taxi driving in Melbourne is often considered a transient job for students. We also have hire cars, a significant number. They're not allowed to perform hail trips. They can't be hailed, nor do they pick up at ranks. They only operate in the booked market. Also, maybe unlike the UK, they are usually at the luxury end of the market. They're of a higher standard than conventional taxis. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background about the industry. Now, the Victorian government has called for an inquiry. The new government, it wanted to have a major independent inquiry into taxis and hire cars, and I've been appointed to chair it. That's probably no accident that my background is in competition and antitrust. And Dr. David Cousins, who's at this conference, is my fellow commissioner, and he's a former Director of Consumer Affairs in the state of Victoria, a former member of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, former chairman of the Prices Surveillance Authority, and we've brought along to this conference our Chief of Staff, Megan Burke-O'Neill, and also Joshua Miller, and you'll find a few other Australians, no doubt noticed, sprinkled around the room. This was a major announcement by the new government, and I think both sides had been thinking that something needed to be done about taxis in Victoria, and the government made it quite clear that it was looking to fundamental reform of the industry. It didn't want some patch-up job fixing up this little problem or that little problem. It wanted to look at the whole fundamentals. And one of the reasons for that arises from customer satisfaction surveys. One thing that is done quite well and interestingly in Victoria is very substantial systematic customer surveys. I think they're done every 3 months, maybe 1,500 people or so are called, and they're asked quite a number of questions about their satisfaction with the service and so on. So we have 5 years of trend data, and also we can compare satisfaction of taxis with satisfaction with other modes of transport like rail and so on. And as you can see, customer satisfaction has fallen to an all-time low, and also complaints have sharply risen in recent times. And on further probing, the most important factor in customer dissatisfaction has been found to be with respect to the taxi driver dimension. There are other key factors: safety, value for money, reliability, especially for people with a disability, but it is the experience in the taxi that has been a key factor in customer dissatisfaction. In rural Victoria, in rural towns and so on, its availability has been the bigger issue. So the government feels there needs to be some rather substantial reform, and there's quite widespread community support for that and support from various parts of government. So the terms of reference are quite broad. The overall stated aim is to instigate major and enduring improvements to service, safety and competition to Victoria's taxi and car hire industry. And that involves taking a look at the current and future role of taxis, hire cars, other demand responsive transport services in an integrated transport system, including the role of those services in affording social inclusion, that is for disadvantaged people, low-income people and so on, and others who tend to get left out of society on the margins. So there's a great range of things to consider. Well, having said that much about the inquiry, and by the way, we do have not only the terms of reference, but we also have an initial issues paper that sets out maybe 100 questions that we have posed about the industry, if you want to get a bigger feel for the issues. I thought that I would say something about how a person with a competition or antitrust background like myself views any industry, with a few comments on taxis as I go along. We haven't really made up our mind what to do about the call for reform by the government, but I thought I would say a bit about the view of the world that I've generally had of most industries. In the world of competition, you are dealing with every industry. Of course, every industry says it's different. Actually, every industry without exception comes to and says it doesn't feel that it should be subject to competition. It's special. Farmers certainly want to be always exempt. And then manufacturing, well, they need to have some mergers to achieve economies of scale. Services are very different. You know, there's quality factors there mean that you shouldn't press competition too hard. Infrastructure industries, they need to be free to invest and so on. So every industry wants not to be exposed to competition. Mind you, they like their suppliers to be exposed to competition, and they like to sell into competitive markets, and it's a simple fact that there is a contradiction nearly for everyone. I don't like competition, but I do like the people that supply me or that I sell to be exposed to maximum competition. So the first thing about the competition view of the world is that the consumer comes first. The consumer is sovereign. Business exists to serve the consumer. It's not the other way round. The justification for business of any kind is that it meets a demand from consumers, and one of the important roles of competition law and policy is to make sure that nothing gets in the way of a competitive supply to the consumer. Now, regarding taxis, I guess it's obvious what consumers want. First of all, they want availability. They want taxis to be available. They want safety. They want competent, honest drivers. They want good customer responsive service. They want competitive prices. They want innovation. They want choice. I mention choice because it empowers consumers. It avoids for them being at the mercy of a monopolist or a cartel. It also enables the great variety of consumer wishes to be met. You know, some people would prefer something like a budget service with low prices. Others prefer a high-quality service, maybe with a higher price, somewhat eco-friendly, some want this, some want disability, etc., etc. And one of the best ways of getting that delivered is through having a competitive market. Indeed, it is quite difficult to meet that huge diversity and complexity and ever-changing nature of consumer demands by passing laws and having regulations about it. The best or least worst way of dealing with this in all industries really has proved to be having competitive markets, and that is widely accepted these days in every economy of the world. There's North Korea, there's Cuba, and then the rest of the world has long accepted that we rely on competitive markets to deliver goods and services, or more fundamentally, we rely on markets to deliver goods and services, and the key to successful markets is that they are competitive. So competitive markets deliver those things, as you all know, because it is the competition and the threat of it from other players in the industry and from potential new entrants that puts the maximum pressure on suppliers to offer the best price, the best service, the best availability, the best innovation, the best range of products and goods and services to consumers. And monopoly generates little such pressure on the supplier. And the lessons of reform, whether in North America in areas like telecommunications, airlines, energy, and a range of other areas, is that indeed competition has delivered a great deal better, not perfectly, but a great deal better than the old monopoly markets there, because the markets give consumers what they want. And also, they're generally better than other methods, regulation or monopoly, in responding to that very diverse need of consumers. I mean, taxis is an industry with very, very different individual needs. People want taxis at different times of day and night for different sorts of trips, long distance and short distance, central business district, airport, suburban, inner suburban, outer suburban, disability. There's a whole range of diverse needs, which it is very difficult to cater for. And on the whole, markets do the least bad job in meeting diverse demands. They also, open markets create opportunities for people to go into business and to provide some kind of service and to make some kind of living. And we shouldn't lightly deny people the right to participate in markets as suppliers, providing they are competent. And I think it's also been very true that most experiences that there have been of removing entry restrictions and other restrictions on competition in markets have led to a major expansion of markets. If you look at the vast expansion of telecommunications compared with the old days when we just had monopolies. And I believe in quite a range of other areas that freeing up competition has led to a vast expansion of markets, a vast expansion of services, and a diversity in them which was otherwise lacking. And I think that with regard to the taxi industry, we probably all think that there is a very strong latent demand for the kinds of services that a taxi industry, a point-to-point service provider can offer, that we need to be constantly looking at to see if there aren't great opportunities. To my mind, there is a very big untapped latent demand in the industry, shared rides, late night rides, outer suburban rides, rides in remote areas and so on, which I think a freed up industry might well be able to cater for better than has been possible in the past. Okay, well, I've just enthused there a little bit about competition. So what are the conditions that give rise to competition? Not every market is competitive. So what would your checklist of points be?